He sat alone beneath the flickering neon of a rundown gas station, rain soaking through his tattered coat, hood pulled low to hide the face no one cared to see. Just another homeless man, forgotten and ignored. But those who passed him, laughing teenagers, impatient drivers, a couple arguing over coffee, had no idea. They didn't know what he'd given up. They didn't know the promise he'd made. Or what it had cost him. Still here? One of them sneered as they passed, tossing a crumpled sandwich wrapper near his feet. Guess loyalty doesn't pay rent. He didn't flinch. He'd learned long ago that silence was the safest armor. But deep within his coat pocket, his fingers clutched something, worn, frayed, but still intact. A letter. A promise. A reminder of the night everything changed. It had started years ago. Two brothers, inseparable. One dreamed of building a life in tech, coding through nights in a cramped apartment. The other, older, quieter, worked double shifts to keep food on the table and bills at bay. The younger always said he'd make it big one day. And he did. But not before a choice was made. A choice that would ripple through their lives like a storm. No matter what, the older had said, voice low but certain. I'll protect you, even if it means losing everything. He didn't know then how literal those words would become. The younger brother's rise was meteoric: startups, investors, magazine covers. But with success came shadows, suspicious contracts, silent partners, and whispers of stolen code. One evening, a panicked call came. They're going to tear it all down. They have evidence. I need time, please. Time was what he gave. A confession forged. A scapegoat created. Overnight, the headlines changed. Tech prodigy betrayed by brother in billion-dollar scandal. The world gasped. He was arrested. And just like that, everything he had was gone. Prison. Years of it. Followed by cold stares and colder nights on the street. Yet he never broke his silence. Because he had given his word. And promises, real ones, aren't meant to be broken. But now, things were stirring again. Lately, strangers had begun following him. Not the usual types, no. These were clean-shaven, sharp-eyed, always pretending not to watch. A woman in a gray coat had slipped something in his bag, a key card with no logo. Then a phone call from an untraceable number. Just 2 words. He's gone. The younger brother was dead. Or so the world believed. Car crash. No remains found. But the older brother knew better. The timing was too neat. The people too quiet. And then there was the vault. Years ago, before the scandal, the younger had created a failsafe, an encrypted data cache hidden in plain sight. Only 2 people knew of its existence. One was now missing. The other was sitting in the rain, forgotten by the world. That night, under the hum of a broken streetlight, he made his move. The keycard opened a door beneath an abandoned metro station. Inside, cold steel, blinking servers, and files that could ruin empires. He hesitated. Every document, every recorded call, every digital footprint of the truth, right there. But unlocking it meant breaking the very promise he had sacrificed everything to keep. Or had the promise already been broken? The deeper he dug, the more twisted the truth became. The younger brother hadn't just framed him. He had used him. The stolen tech, the fake investors, even the scandal, it had all been orchestrated to vanish with a fortune that never legally existed. Offshore accounts. Hidden patents. An entire identity built on lies. But the one thing he hadn't counted on? The brother he thought he'd buried. And that's when it happened. As he uploaded the final decrypted file to a private server, the floor above shook. Someone was coming. Voices echoed down the tunnel. Not police, mercenaries. They weren't here to ask questions. He had minutes, maybe less. Just enough time to leave a trail, digital breadcrumbs, one that would lead curious minds to the truth if anything happened to him. Then he took the hard drive and disappeared into the tunnels. Now, weeks later, the story was out. Not the whole truth, but enough to turn heads. Anonymous leak exposes billion-dollar shell company tied to deceased tech CEO. Reporters speculated. Authorities scrambled. And online sleuths dissected every detail. But the man behind it all? Still walking. Still watching. Still keeping a promise, but on his own terms now. He wasn't seeking revenge. He wasn't after sympathy. He only wanted one thing: to remind the world that loyalty has a price, and sometimes the receipt doesn't show up until years later. A child passing him on the street smiled and handed him a warm cup. No one else looked twice. But inside that cup was a microchip, one more piece of the puzzle. He smiled for the first time in years. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. And somewhere, someone who thought he'd buried the past was about to learn. A brother's promise doesn't die. It transforms. In the shadows of betrayal, sometimes the one you forgot is the only one who remembers everything. Engaging ending call to action asterisk. If this story moved you, imagine what's still hidden beneath the surface. What would you give up to keep your word? Drop a comment, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe, because every promise has a cost, and the next story might just reveal yours.